Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. We are so glad you're joining us today. In recognition of Infant Safety Month, today we're going to be investigating the topic of safe and sound navigating infant safety essentials and just provide some essential tips and some practical advice on keeping your little ones safe. And today we are joined by both myself, I'm the Director of Marketing and Customer Experience here at Child Development Schools, Kate Quattlebaum, and I'm also joined by Miss Tammy Gatling, our VP of Operations. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Child Development Schools at first. At Child Development Schools, we really go above and beyond to make sure our teachers are more than qualified to handle health and safety measures for your child. Our careful caregivers ensure a secure and nurturing environment, age-appropriate safety measures, and regular monitoring to ensure your little learner's well-being at all times. It's our mission to give every child a great start in life in that safe and caring environment with an innovative educational experience that stays with them for life. Our vision is dedicated to providing high quality care within a family oriented environment with child centric educators. And this really why we wanted to delve a little bit more into the importance of infant safety and help just provide some topics for maybe a first time mom or even a second or third time parent who just is making sure you're still up to date on all the safety practices. And now I am going to kick it over to Miss Tammy to start talking a little bit more about safety.
Thank you. I'm excited to be with everybody today, this afternoon. And so to talk more about navigating safe sleep essentials. So, welcoming a new baby into the family comes with a lot of research. And one of the most critical aspects to understand in welcoming a new baby is safe sleep. Babies spend a lot of time sleeping, so it's essential to create a secure sleep environment by following a few key guidelines. So we're just going to take it back to the ABCs and the ABCs of infant safe sleep. We start with alone. Babies should sleep in their own space without sharing a bed with anyone else. I know it's so hard to resist cuddling into the night, but room sharing is encouraged, but not bed sharing. So keep the sleep area clear of soft items like pillows, blankets, toys, and stuffed animals. I know a lot of families receive a lot of really cute items for their newborns, but we want to keep those items out of the sleep area. Babies can have a pacifier, but it shouldn't be attached to anything. And it's fine. It's okay if it falls out during sleep. It's just important to make sure that the environment that your baby sleeps in is as clutter free as possible. Let's talk about B, back. Always, always, always place babies on their backs to sleep. As they grow, they will naturally learn to roll over on their own if that's their preferred position. And once they can consistently roll both ways, you can leave them in the position they find the most comfortable, but always start with them on their back. And then C, crib. Use a crib, bassinet, or portable play yard with a firm, flat mattress and a fitted sheet. The sleep area should be free of bumpers and nothing should be attached to the crib, like monitors or even mobiles. Babies can be swaddled until around 8 weeks old, and after that, a sleep sack with arms out is recommended. Avoid letting your baby sleep on couches, armchairs, or in devices like swings or bouncers. Those mattresses are not going to be firm. And of course, those areas are not made for infants and toddlers to sleep on. And while car seats are safe for travel, babies should be moved to a crib once the journey is over. Let's talk a little bit more about the sleep environment. So, we already know how important sleep is for newborns and for you, not just your babies, but for you as well. So, use these tips to help your little one sleep through the night so that both of you can get good rest. Let's talk about humidity. So ensure that the level of humidity in your child's sleeping environment remains healthy. And so the optimal humidity range for their room and the space they're sleeping in is between 40 and 60%. Their nasal passages are pretty narrow at that age, so you want to minimize the amount of humidity in their sleep areas. Temperature. One of the most effective methods to enhance your baby's sleep duration and quality is by keeping the room temperature between 68 and 72 degrees. Various studies indicate that the temperature range is optimal for fostering restful sleep for your little one. So I know sometimes we think that babies might be chilly or they might be cold, but research shows that 68 to 72 degrees is the best range for quality sleep for infants. And then lighting. Light is stimulating to your baby's brain while darkness promotes sleep. So that means light is perfect for awake time, but darkness is best for nap time and for nights. So we're not just talking about infants today. Let's talk a little bit more about toddlers, which are my favorite age group out of all. But we want to talk about safely transitioning from the crib to the bed. So your toddler should move to a bed when they're tall enough. You should start transitioning to a toddler bed or a twin bed with a side rail when your little one gets to be around 35 inches tall, or when the height of the side rail is less than 3/4 of their height. So you have one or two ways to measure when that should be a transition. And of course, you can always talk to your pediatrician. There's no set age for making this transition, although it usually happens between 2 and 3.5 years old. Most experts suggest waiting until the child's third birthday, if possible. However, every child is different. And if yours is regularly climbing out of their crib or asking to transition to a big kid bed, those are really good signs that they are ready to make the switch. And I know some of you have some climbers out there. I've seen them in action. Before moving your child to a bed, think about the room like one giant crib. So they may get out of the bed on their own while you're sleeping. So you want to make sure that they only have access to safe things in their sleeping space. Choose a low bed. A taller bed or a low platform bed helps to prevent falls. And wait to purchase a bunk bed until your child is a little bit older, while the bottom bunk may be a safe place for a toddler to sleep. Toddlers are curious and they may climb to the top bunk unsupervised, especially in the middle of the night. Use guardrails where you think that's appropriate. Install them on both sides of the bed to prevent the child from rolling off. And if the floor isn't carpeted, consider putting a rug under the bed to cushion any potential falls. And maintain a safe sleep routine. Toddlers and most preschoolers love routines. It helps them to kind of manage their emotions and what's coming next. So even after transitioning to a bed, continue to follow all of the safe sleep practices that you've invested in before, such as avoiding pillows until age 2, making sure the mattress fits the bed, and you still want to limit the items that you put into the child's actual sleeping space. Let's talk a little bit more about toddler sleep, safe sleep. So, you want to avoid having heavy blankets or quilts in the bed. Keep the area on and around the bed or mattress clean and clear of soft toys, bean bags, and anything else that might pose a risk to your child. Keep pillows out of the bed for children under 2 years of old because they still pose a risk to your little one. You want to position the head of the bed flush against the wall so that there's enough space on both sides to prevent your child from getting trapped. Or you want to place one side against the wall in a corner and use a side rail on the other side. Ultimately, you want to make sure there's something behind the bed and in front of the bed to keep the child as safe as possible. And remember, everything that you thought about when figuring out where to place your child's crib, if their crib is in a good spot, put the bed there. It worked before, it should work again. A good sleeping spot is always away from windows because of blind cords and because of the potential of the sun to come through with the heat. You want to keep the bed away from hot things, radiators, heaters, heat registers, and electrical cords, especially when they are attached to things that can be pulled over, like lamps and maybe even radios or anything that you might be using to make your child's space more comfortable and warm. Childproofing your home. So if you have infants, toddlers, crawlers, walkers, anybody in your house that can get into things, it's so important that your house is childproofed. From the moment your baby comes home, ensuring their safety can be quite challenging. You never realize how something is in reach until it's in reach to a toddler who's very curious. So, this task becomes even more complex as your child grows more mobile, making it very important to stay several steps ahead. One of the most effective methods to prevent those injuries is by childproofing the home. So, let's talk about a couple of key pieces. Anchor your furniture. Anything that's tall, narrow, anything that's lightweight should be anchored to the wall so that your little climber doesn't pull it over. Cabinet latches, they will find any kind of way to get into your pots and pans, into your Tupperware, anything that you keep low. So you want to make sure that all of your cabinets and drawers that are accessible to little ones that they have latches on them to prevent them from reaching dangerous items, chemicals, anything that really should be keep out of the reach of children. Safety gates. Use safety gates to help prevent falls downstairs and to keep children from entering rooms and other areas with possible dangers. I remember when my niece started walking, it felt like we had gated off half the house because she was busy and into everything. But we really didn't want her to get into spaces unsupervised because there were just so many potential items that could be unsafe. So use those safety gates that meet current child safety standards. Pet gates should never be used as a child safety gate. Electrical covers. So utilize the outlet covers. They sell them just about anywhere now, the little plastic pieces to keep children from tampering with electrical sockets and minimize the risk of electrocution because you also don't want them to take any type of toy or any type of object to stick those into those little holes. It's very, very inviting to curious minds. So where you can find those outlets, where you have electrical areas in your spaces that children have access to, you want to always utilize those outlet covers to cover them while they're not in use. So I know if your child is in childcare, then you recognize that there is a difference between what can happen in a regulated childcare facility, and what you can do at home. And so there are some things that just aren't safe for supervision and monitoring in a large group setting. And so that's why your child isn't able to bring a stuffed animal or a certain type of blanket to use while they're at sleep, especially in a crib. And so we aren't saying that those devices and those items aren't safe at all. We've talked about how to use those items as your child is an infant or a toddler, but they just don't align with a group care setting. And so those devices often become placeholders for other things that we would love to do as a part of transitioning children into sleep time or transitioning them into being able to be relaxed and comfortable in a group setting. So that's typically why they aren't allowed. Just because something is a little bit safer in one-to-one care, group care environments implement sometimes more stringent safety practices just to make sure that all of our children are safe while they're sleeping, and that we don't have any concerns about items that can't be managed as closely because there are more children and it's a larger group setting. Sometimes the littlest things take up the most room in your heart. And I'm sure that we all feel that way about our children. And it's very important that we remember how little our young ones and newborns are as it relates to safe sleep practices. You hold the key to making sure that their environments are the safest possible so that they can get some rest and so that you can get some rest as well, so that both minds can continue to develop and grow in the way possible.
Thank you, Tammy. All of those were just amazing tips, and we hope you all have learned some helpful things during our webinar. However, I know you might still have a few questions, and I wanted to allow a moment for you to ask any of those in the chat right now. Let's see here. Give people a few minutes to pop those in. All right, I see one that just came through. What safety certifications or standards should I look for when purchasing baby products like cribs, car seats, or toys?
That's a great question. So one, you're going to always want to look for certifications and understand the standards for all of those pieces. So you want to look for JPMA certification, the ASTM standards, compliance for cribs, car seats, and toys. Car seats should also meet FMVSS 213 standards. UL certification is also important for electrical items. And you always want to make sure that products that children are touching or may put in their mouth are BPA free to avoid any exposure to harmful chemicals. And most of this information, you guys, you should be able to find it in the little pamphlets that come with the equipment that you buy. If it's a product that you're buying, you should be able to look at the label to understand if the UL certification or if that product is BPA free.
All right, thank you for reviewing that. I know, especially when I was a first-time mom, that the amount of certifications and information was just so overwhelming. So it's really helpful to know which ones are the specific ones that you should look for.
Absolutely. And you should keep those pamphlets and those pieces of documentation for the duration of the time that you have the equipment, just as just a fail safe to remember this is what this says, this is how this should be used, and this is how this piece of equipment is certified.
Absolutely. I know I lost things a lot as a mom and just as a human myself. So
Yes.
those can usually always be found by Googling the product, and the manufacturer does keep those. So if you ever lose your pamphlet, you can go find it online. I do see another question that came through. How can I help prevent falls or other accidents as my baby begins to crawl or roll over?
Yeah, so that's a good question too. We just talked about that when I was referencing my niece. So safety gates are your friend. It don't have to just be for stairs, but we literally use them to create the area that she had access to, and that was the only area that she had access to throughout the day. So make sure you have safety gates at the stairs or in areas to prevent them from entering unsafe spaces. Bathrooms, the door should be shut or there's a gate. I think sometimes people really underestimate how many interesting items are in the kitchen. And so you want to make sure that furniture is secured to the walls, like we talked about, and never leave infants unattended on high surfaces. Um, I think a lot of people think, hey, I can just grab this for a quick second while I'm changing my baby and it'll be fine. But they are fast and they will roll. And so never take your hand off or take your eyes away from a child on a high surface. You know, remove obstacles from the floor, cover your sharp edges, and you should avoid using walkers to reduce fall risks. One helpful tip is to get down on the floor at your baby's level. So, you know, sit down or get on your knees and look around, and you'd be surprised at the things that you missed previously that a toddler or an infant could get into from that same viewpoint.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tammy, for that one. We've got a lot of good questions today. I have
Yeah.
another one. Do all rooms in my house need to be baby proofed?
Yes. Just like I talked about, we reference you should really go from room to room. Any room in your house that your baby toddler is going to have access to, you should really do the exercise that we talked about. Sit down and kind of look at it from a child's perspective. But even spaces, like I said, bathrooms, kitchens, even bedrooms, can be hazardous, because there's sharp objects possibly. You have cleaning supplies, there are electrical outlets in probably every room in your house. And then again, going back to the furniture, like this is such a big piece. Sometimes I don't think we realize how easily it is to tip over a certain piece of furniture until it is in fact tipped over in a possible negative way. So baby proof every accessible area and ensure that environment is as safe as possible, because as your child becomes more mobile, they will explore more and they'll have more access to things that you might have overlooked.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Yeah.
Um, we actually have a few more. One I think would be really good that I know I see a lot of ads for online now is a Snuggle Me Okay for safe sleeping. That is like an infant lounger.
So what I would say is no. Going back to the conversations that we had earlier around the fact that a baby should sleep on a flat, firm mattress, any type of equipment that is basically selected for children to sit in or to lay back or lounge in is not made for them to sleep in. So as you see your child getting comfortable in those type of pieces of equipment or in those type of chairs, if you see them starting to nod off, you want to move them, of course, safely, quietly as possible to an actual sleeping space that you have already set up in a safe environment. Those cushions can be way too soft for a child to fall asleep on and could pose some potential safety hazards and risks for their ability to breathe, and for their ability to be safe. So, no safe sleep loungers, no kid loungers, no couches, no lawn chairs. Again, if it's not a flat, firm mattress or a part of the safe sleep area that you have created in your home, you shouldn't let infants and toddlers sleep there on a regular basis at all.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah.
All right, now, and I want to go through kind of one of the more exciting parts or the very end is a reminder that two families from today will be chosen to receive a free week of tuition. So we really appreciate you guys joining us, and we know how hectic being a new parent is, and we really just wanted to say thank you, and give you a little bit of time maybe to go get a pedicure or some time to relax and take a breath. So you will be notified by email if you are one of our winners. We will be pulling from the list of attendees today. So keep an eye out on your email, and I will be reaching out shortly. And then thank you just again for joining us. This is one of my favorite topics to discuss. I know the infant toddler age is such a fun, precious age. And again, as a first time mom myself, I know that this was such an intimidating time for me. So I really hope we were able to provide some helpful tips and ease your mind a little bit as you start on this journey or continue on it. And if you ever need to get in touch, please reach out. And thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.